Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches. Today would be day 3 and this is the sketch we're all going to be using today. I am going to go ahead and do a 12 by 12 layout with a little bit of mixed media added in. And on the sketch, you can see all of those strips of pattern paper behind the photo. And I thought it would be perfect to use a 6 by 6 paper pad for those pattern paper strips. I am going to trim my photo down just a tiny bit right now, and then I'll go ahead and work on my background. I will also link all of the items I used today down in the description box, and I'll also link everyone participating on this hop today down in the description box as well. Now I pulled out this stencil here. I love this stencil. You can see there are about 9 different designs on this one 12 by 12 stencil, and it is from the Crafters Workshop. I'll go ahead and link that down below. And at first I wanted to use the semicircle that you see on the bottom left corner, because on the top left corner of the sketch you may notice there is a sort of a circular element to the top there, and that's what I wanted to go ahead and use this stencil to represent, that semicircle element. But then I changed my mind and decided to go with this circle instead. Now I am going to be using these little finger brushes I found recently, and I absolutely love it because when I use my foam finger daubers with these stencils that have these tiny sharp edges on the design, it gets caught on those little tiny edges and pulls at the foam. But with this brush it does not do that, and I really enjoyed using it with this stencil here. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 of these circles here to the top left corner, and then I'll add one towards the right side where my title will be. Although there's none of that circular element to that corner, I decided to just go ahead and add another circle there anyway. So I am going to follow this sketch really closely, but of course I will add in a few different details here and there just to make it my own. And I'm adding in just half of the circle right here on the bottom right corner of the layout, going off the page just a bit there. Now I really love having an edge, a dark edge on my layouts, and I decided right away go ahead and ink the edges. Here I'm using my foam dauber because if I used the brush that I used with the stencil, I'll get a more subtle edge. The color would not be as bold as it is using the foam dauber. So I'm using my foam finger dauber, inking the edges here, and then I take the ink pad and went directly around the edge just to define the edge of this 12 by 12 layout a bit more. So you can see here, adding some mixed media to your background does not take very long at all, and it came together really beautifully. I love how this looked. So now I'm gonna go ahead and choose some pattern paper for my strips, and I am going through my paper pad. I'm choosing a lot of the solid colors. I pull in some designs with a bit of that orange as well. I do not want the green, and I am gonna avoid the green right here when I'm cutting my strips out. I cut about 2 strips from each of these pattern papers. They are 1 inch wide, and I use my Tim Holtz distress tool right here to go ahead and distress both sides of each of the strips just to add a little bit of texture instead of just adding them directly on the background. Just gonna add a little texture there using this distress tool. So now I'm gonna map my photo, and I considered using a white cardstock to back my photo with, but I thought why not try to use up some of this pattern paper and add a dark edge instead. And I went ahead, I grabbed some of the scraps that I had left over after cutting out 2 strips from this pattern paper, but you can see it does not go all the way across. So I went ahead, adhered my photo, and the part that you're not gonna see, I am cutting it out right now. Then I'll cut a few strips from that piece of pattern paper right there and piece it together, and that will complete the frame all the way around my photo. Now these strips are just 6 inches long, so they're not gonna extend all the way from the top to the bottom of my photo like they are in the sketch. So I need to go ahead and cut them apart and piece it together from the top to the bottom, as you will see in a few moments. So I am gonna go ahead and add my photo on my background first. Now adding some foam adhesive behind my photo just to lift it off the page. And you can see I did not add the foam to the edge of my photo because I need to be able to tuck in these strips like I am right now. So you can see there I cut this strip apart. I tucked in the first piece to the top. I'm using my T-square ruler and just lining it up nice and straight, and adding the second piece of it to the bottom. So now it looks as though it extends from the top all the way down the bottom past the photo, and it's really just a 6 by 1 inch piece of pattern paper that I cut apart and pieced it together to give the illusion that it is extending all the way down the photo. So once I got to the end of my photo, I needed the strips to actually show on the outside of my photo. But with the patterns on these paper, it was easy to piece them together, as you can see I'm doing there with the orange pattern paper, and extend it a bit down past the 6 inch mark. And my title is gonna be there as well. So it's gonna be disguised. The seam there will be disguised just a little bit, so you won't hardly notice where it's joined together. Now on the top left corner, there's a cluster there in the sketch, and you will notice that there's gonna be a gap right now. But once I add that cluster on that corner, it will cover up that gap that you're seeing that I'm adding in right now. Now I'm doing this, of course, to be able to extend this pattern paper down lower past my photo. And on the sketch, there's some splatters, and I am adding in some splatters using a blue ink. And this is from Liquitex. I cannot remember the name of the exact name of the color, but once I find it, I'll go ahead and link it down below. It went perfectly with the ink pad that I used as well. So I'm trying to get in some really small splatters as well as some huge ones, just like it is in the sketch. Right now I'm going through some ephemera pieces. These are from Vicki Boutin. I cannot remember the name of the collection, but it's one of her newest collections. And I'm going through these pieces here. This was close to my desk, and I just grabbed it up to see if I can find anything there that I can use on this layout. So I'm pulling out just a few pieces here. And I also pulled out the chipboard stickers that I'll use in just a little bit. You can see I added in my title with that wood grain alphabet, and I found that it was just blending in a little bit too much into the background. It was getting a bit lost, so I'm gonna change that out later on, but right now I'm gonna fill in that gap. Now on the sketch, there is a tag to the top left corner. I decided to go with these chipboard word phrases instead and fill in that gap. Now on those word phrases, the fonts are in gold, and I will be adding a little bit more gold to this layout just as a little pop, and it sort of brightened up my layout once I added that in. So you can see I have a word phrase here. It says, "You are some kind of wonderful." It was a little bit too long, so I cut it apart, and it fit perfectly to fill in that empty space. And I'm cutting these stars apart from the little tab it was on because I did not want to use it that way. I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind both of these stars and add one to the top left cluster and add one close to my to my title. So now on the sketch on that star, there's a button, and I saw these cute little circles with some gold hearts on the center of them on the chipboard sticker sheet. So I am gonna go ahead and sprinkle the ones that I found all around my clusters. I added 2 to the top left, and I think I added about 3 of those around my title as well. So now I wanted a little bit more orange. You can see I have that orange strip going down the side close to my title, which definitely brought your attention over to my title. And I wanted to balance things out a little bit more with the orange. So I'm using these circle enamel dots. And I also use some heart enamel dots as well, all in orange, and sprinkle those around my clusters. And I believe next up I'm gonna go ahead and change out my title. Now, like I said, that wood grain, it's just blending in a little bit too much there. So I pulled out these alphas I found in my stash from Felicity Jane. It was the perfect shade of gold. It went really well with the shade of gold for those fonts on those word phrases at the top left. So I decided to go ahead and switch out my title using these alphabets instead. So my title says Be Awesome. I do need to go in and just add in who and the date that this was my son, and the date is just a random photo. There isn't any story really to tell with this photo, so not a lot of journaling. But I definitely would like to add in who it was and the date. So here I'm just using my gold gel pen. I'm adding in a doodly border all the way around. I'm adding in actually a double border. And then I'll go ahead and add a tiny bit of that gold around my photo as well. And you can see I'm not extending those lines all the way around, just to the top left corner and the bottom left corner. Now on the sketch, you'll notice there's some stitching to the top of the photo as well as the bottom. Actually, it goes all the way around the photo, but I decided not to do any stitching. I am going to do some faux stitching using that gold pen and just on those really dark pattern papers there, the darker ones. To bring in a tiny bit more gold, I'm using my fan brush, and this way I'm getting some really tiny splatters and adding them to the clusters, the splatter clusters I added in before with the blue. And here I have a close-up look at my layout. I absolutely love how this turned out. You can see there's not a lot on this layout except some strips of paper and a few embellishments, but with the stencil and the mixed media added in there, it gives a lot of fun details. And I hope you guys enjoy the process today. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up before you leave. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I hope you consider subscribing today as well. So don't forget, check out my description box and go on over and see how everyone else used this sketch on their layout today. And be sure to come back soon for another one of my videos. So thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.